Shaping the Future of Money Movement. This is the title of the next session. Please welcome Mr. Hazem Mulhim, CEO at eastnets, and Ms. Leila Serhan, Senior Vice President and Group Country Manager at Visa.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Leila has asked me that the session needed to be in English because she has prepared her session is in English language. So I appreciate that this is acceptable. So thank you all for attending and thank you for inviting us for this session today. Today's session actually is going to be an interesting session. It's going to be about the money. And before we go down, deep down in the session itself, I would like to have Leila introduce herself first, and then maybe I can give some introduction about myself, and then we go down to the session exactly. Ahlan wa sahlan, Leila.
Thank you, Hazem, and thank you for having me here for this session. So my name is Leila Serhan. I'm currently leading the business for Visa across North Africa, Levant, and Pakistan, which is a group of 17 countries. The Levant is obviously Jordan, is one of the countries. Jordan, Palestine, Iraq are all part of what we call the Levant. We operate in directly and indirectly in all of those markets in enabling digital payments with the many players in the ecosystem, whether it's financial institutions, central banks, fintechs, and obviously everything that has to do with digital commerce.
Thank you, Leila. Myself, just to give introduction, my name is Hazem Mulhim. I am the founder and CEO of eastnets. I started my company back in '84. My company was the first shop selling computers in Jordan, a Kasakhr at the time. And then after that, we became a Swift business partner in the Middle East. We have put 14 countries on Swift network. We have created by that financial inclusion because we put 450 banks on the Swift network in the MENA region, which was a great achievement for a Jordanian company at the time. And in 2007, we have acquired the company out of Europe, where today we are one of the 100 tech companies globally, and we are in the quadrant leader in developing compliance software. We have 800 banks that are working with us. So this is where I have been invited here to talk about money, and we were invited to talk and to challenge our colleague here from Visa. Anyway, today's session is going to be about shaping the future of money movement. And when I was researching, because, again, Leila has challenged me at the time that it's going to be easier for you, just going to put questions. So I had to do some research. And while I was researching, I remembered the film Cabaret. I don't know if you've seen the film Cabaret for Liza Minnelli at the time, where the money makes the world go round. So really, since then, since the inception of the idea of the money, money has a great impact on all the economies. Money has started 7,500 years ago in Iraq. It was in a form of a clay token. Then afterward, another issuance of money in China. Then the minting of money in Turkey. Then, of course, the first banknote that took place in 1600, and as we know. So today, as we speak, there are $500 trillion, $5 trillion on daily basis that are exchanged globally, between different parties. And when we talk about $5 trillion daily that are being transferred in cross-border, this is a huge money out of the $40 trillion that exist, in the world. With that being said, if we narrow down the discussion about payments and what has taken place in the payments, especially post-COVID, we can see that there's a huge also growth in the payments by itself. And the payments ecosystem has seen huge changes because these new changes are related either how we buy, how we sell, and of course, the payment providers have had a huge impact. So, and of course, we all know what has taken place with the tokenization, with the way that money is presented, the cards are presented, and all of these things. So all of these payment trends that I mentioned on a very high level, Leila, are there any other encouraging developments, especially in the area that you are working in?
Sure. So allow me just to put also some numbers behind some of the concepts that you spoke about, whether it's tokenization or the rise of e-commerce. Obviously, the payment industry, like many industries, has witnessed a huge transformation during the pandemic, and many of those transformation and disruptions that we saw were staying. So the boom of e-com, definitely, but when you think of the new ways to pay and contactless transactions, we've seen a growth in the region from 2% of transactions being contactless to today more than 1/3 of transactions are contactless. And the reality is, if I look at a broader region, which I am part of, which is the Central Europe, Middle East, and Africa region, cash is no longer king. And more than 50% of volumes today are actually made through digital payments. It is said in the more advanced countries in the Middle East, 7 out of 10 transactions will actually be digital, through digital forms of money. So this is kind of putting some numbers behind what you were saying. But if I think of the main trends that we are looking at as a payment industry today, there are 5 that I'll touch upon pretty quickly. So we've been hearing it, we heard it from the Central Bank of Jordan, fintechs. Fintechs is witnessing a very big boom in the MENA region. Last year, more than $2 billion of funding. Year to date, I think we've already reached that number in terms of funding in the MENA region for fintechs. And what we're seeing is the kind of partnerships that are being built with fintechs. So financial institutions now partnering with fintechs so that they are able to provide more digital, more secure services to their direct consumers. So fintech, big trend that we're looking at. The second one is obviously digital wallets and the growth of digital wallets, because digital wallets have allowed a big portion of the people who were unbanked to actually get some kind of financial services. And when we think of real-time payment systems in countries like India or Brazil, like UPI in India or PIX in Brazil, they only were able to grow. I mean, India took 10 years for UPI to actually reach critical mass and become a world leader. It was because of wallets. It was because of Google Wallet, because of the Walmart wallets. So this is what really pushed the adoption of these kind of systems. So digital wallets is another very big trend, and today we work with the likes of Orange, for example, to enhance their wallet proposition with a companion card that allow people to buy and sell whatever they want and in whatever shape they want. The third one is buy now, pay later. Big boom in MENA in buy now, pay later. A recent survey done by one of our partners, checkout.com, was actually saying that there are more buy now, pay later arrangements in the Middle East and North Africa region than there are in the UK. And typically, buy now, pay later is kind of like credit cards. It's an unsecured credit that you give to a consumer. But the beauty of buy now, pay later is that it gives that consumer the choice to make that at the checkout, whether it's online or in the physical store. So we're seeing a big surge of buy now, pay later fintechs, also building partnership with financial institutions. The fourth one is open banking. And I think, so it is said that by 2030, all banking will be open. There are more than 50 countries around the globe that today have regulations and provisions for open banking, building that connectivity. We recently, as Visa, acquired a leader in open banking in Europe, Tink. We finished the acquisition 6 months ago. And the kind of possibilities that open banking can bring in terms of providing innovative financial services solutions to the consumer is just tremendous. Obviously, there are provisions to be made in terms of how people are going to share sensitive financial data with third parties so that they are able to benefit from these solutions. And finally, we cannot finish talking about money if we don't talk about crypto. But it's more around how crypto is going mainstream. And this is much of the work that we are doing. And when we say going mainstream, meaning it's no longer this thing that you do just for an investment, but actually how do you use your crypto assets to buy and sell goods and services. And we've partnered with more than 60 partners around the globe to actually enable Visa cards to be attached to a digital custodian that people will use their cryptocurrency in order to buy and sell.
Anyway, you said 4 things. You're talking about 5 things. So let's hold it there. So coming back to the point, I think there are 2 points. The open banking is a great opportunity because I believe the open banking, especially now with the new regulations that's seeing in some areas like in Saudi Arabia and the others, is going to be something great, especially that if everything is very well regulated. Of course, naturally, we need the PSPs to be there. So like this, we can create security and we can create, these channels so we can give access to the open banking. Especially, if somebody has more than one account and somewhere else, usually it is, it's a challenge to go from one account to the other to be able. So I think open banking is something great and a great initiative. But on the other hand, something I really don't like is buy now and pay later.
Okay.
The other day I was reading an article about, how many indebted young people are there, with this approach. So as if, we are encouraging people, to go in debt, and then again we're going to have, it's not enough that earlier that we have encouraged companies to go bankrupt and even countries. Now, we're going to siphon the money from the young kids and have them indebted. So this is something that it is debatable, but of course there are lots of companies that are working on this trend. And I believe central bankers also should put the proper, regulatory requirements. As for the mainstream cryptocurrency, of course it is there. It is there to come. We don't know when it's going to be coming, but with the last bankruptcy that we have heard about FTX, I think everybody, this is a red flag that everybody has to be aware, especially from the regulatory point of view. The regulators, they have to interfere, so at least, and this is what yesterday, I've been watching the Bloomberg. Everybody, the whole day, they are discussing what kind of regulatory requirements should be in place, so they can rein. But anyway, this is...
I mean, like you said, in both BNPL and crypto, we see regulators coming in very strong now because of some of the issues that you mentioned. So definitely regulators are catching up.
Especially the buy now, pay later, because it's alarming to encourage the young people, to go and spend the money that they don't have, and then, they'll be indebted because things that happen. If we're going to look at economies that have really succeeded, okay, Germany and Japan, it's a different story. I know in the US, it's a consumer society, everybody is indebted, but then, we don't have to go do it in the mainstream, so it becomes parts of the practice. But anyway, we'll go to the other subject that in our part of the world, which is related, to the MENA region and the area that you are really, operating in. From a challenge point of view, how can we ensure that the digital payments economy can grow sustainably? And especially that we are talking about the consumers. We're talking about the businesses and about the users. So
I think one very important area, especially in our part of the world, is SMEs. SMEs remain the backbone of our society. They represent more than 90% of the economy. And we know that many SMEs are still in the informal economy. What we want to do is, how do you bring those SMEs into the digital economy? And by bringing them into the digital economy, you bring them into the formal economy. So there's definitely a lot of awareness that needs to be done with SMEs. There's also new technology that needs to be brought to those SMEs so that they are able to be in this digital economy and be part of the digital economy. So from our side, we work on many low-cost acceptance solutions where, like tap to phone, for example, where any phone today become a digital payment tool, so that you can reach more and more SMEs. And there's definitely the part on the economics, right? And by providing low-cost solutions, you help in the economics, but also we work with central bankers in terms of bringing the right economics to those SMEs, so they join the digital economy and join the formal economy. And this is the only way we will be able to really unleash digital payments across this region specifically.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier when you were talking about the huge number of users, especially in payments. But you did not address the financial inclusion, especially that we have lots of unbanked still in our part of the world.
And underbanked, yeah.
What's your point of view? What's your takeaway for this one?
The unbanked/underbanked segment is still very big in this region. What we do is, I mentioned about digital wallets, so bringing new money movers into the digital payment world. So digital wallets is definitely one area where we look at bringing more people into the financial service, into financial inclusion. But with this, there's a lot of education that needs to be done. So many things we do around educating people and businesses around practical business skills. How do you manage your money? What do you do around managing your money? We use partners such as central banks or marketplaces even. In Pakistan, for example, one of the big marketplace, Daraz, we train every month thousands and thousands of micro businesses who are joining the platform, who are joining the marketplace on really practical business skills. How do you manage your capital, your flow, etc., etc. So this is the kind of things that we look at.
That's important. Anyway, Visa has filed 2 trademark applications related to the metaverse, NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and digital currency wallets. Yeah. So the application mentions providing virtual environment in which users can interact for recreational, leisure, or entertainment purposes accessible in the virtual world. This reminds me of Woody Allen, at one time. Yeah. So the ones who know Woody Allen. But again, still.
good we are on stage and not backstage.
So this is, when we talk about the metaverse and everybody has to think of his own avatar. I think you've heard about the metaverse this morning, and tomorrow it's going to be a full day about metaverses. So do we have to get ready for avatars with Visa or?
Yeah, let me go back to the purpose of Visa. Our purpose is to enable digital payments for everyone, everywhere. And everywhere is the physical world or the digital world or the virtual world. I mean, obviously, we're seeing this boom in the metaverse. We see that there are gaps today in the metaverse, right? And we are trying to address those gaps because at the end, we are a network that runs many networks. And the metaverse is a network. Obviously, the common aspects that we see in the metaverse today is that it's a virtual world. There is a part of a social element into it. So I have a young daughter. She tells me, "Mom, can I hang out with my friend in Roblox?" She doesn't ask me to play on Roblox. She said, "I want to hang out with my friends in Roblox." So there's this big social element. But there's also a digital economy being created over there. So people, whether they are on Roblox or Decentraland or any other meta world, are actually creating goods, buying them, selling them. So there's a new digital economy that is being created. And this is all a mix of the Web 2.0, Web 3.0 world. So how do you bridge this gap? So we're looking at 4 aspects in the metaverse. One is about interoperability. The reality is if you buy something on Decentraland, you cannot use it in Fortnite. So those meta worlds are completely separate. No one talks to each other. So we're really looking at how we bring interoperability across the different metaverse. The second one is ease of access, and especially when it comes to payment. So opening a digital wallet in the metaverse, I don't know if anyone has tried, is not easy. But also exiting and entering metaverses or metaworlds is quite hard. So how do you make that much easier to access? The third area we're looking at is the utility of the metaverse. So mostly it's been about gaming so far. I think there are many use cases that need to be expanded in the meta world, and these are one of the things that we are looking at. And finally, it's about inclusion. I mean, the meta worlds today are appealing really to the young people. If we really want to tap into the $13 trillion opportunity of the metaverse by 2030, when by 2030 there will be 5 billion people connected to the internet, we will need to appeal to a more diverse audience than just the young Gen Z and appeal to people like us. So these are also the areas we're looking at. So we've shared with some of our clients and partners Metaverse Primer by Visa, but if anyone is interested, we'll be more than happy to talk with any financial institution, central bank, or merchant around what we can do together in this new virtual digital meta economy.
And are you cooperating with any companies for the time being?
We are cooperating.
I know the others are.
We are cooperating with many companies globally, on the global stage.
In our part of the world or in the MENA region? That
I mean, we're always looking for the best partners to do that, yeah.
Okay. So if anybody has any idea
yes.
how to create a new avatar or to have, a colleague in the avatar
No,
world.
I really like this morning Arab meta word, so.
Okay, thank you very much, Leila.
Thank you,
This has
Hazem.
been a pleasure, and I hope that the session has been good for everybody.
Thank you for
everybody.
having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.